Today we are going to talk about simplifying cube roots. You might want to take out a piece of loose leaf paper if you chose not to print out the copy of these notes. So yesterday, or the last time you watched a video, we talked about simplifying a radical. To do that, we found the factors of the number under the radical sign. We took the square root of the perfect square and put it in front of the radical. And for our variables, or letters, our even exponents get cut in half. The odd ones we need to write as an even exponent times the letter. So to simplify a cube root, so again, now we're talking about cube roots, that means a 3. We're going to find the factors of the number under the radical sign. One should be a perfect cube. We're going to take the cube root of the perfect cube and put it in front of the radical. For the variables, the letters, our exponents need to be divided by 3. So don't forget, now if we're talking about cube roots, it's divisible by 3. So we need to write the exponent as a multiple of 3 times the letter. So if I had a 7, the largest multiple of 3, lower than 7, is a 6 times the letter. If it was an 8, if it was x to the 8th, we would rewrite that also as x to the 6th times x squared, because 6 plus 2 gives me 8, and the 6 is a multiple of 3. So the first thing I would do now is copy down at least these 2 columns. So hit pause. You're going to kind of use this as a cheat sheet. So, a couple of examples. If we wanted to find the cube root of 81 x to the 4th, the first thing we're going to do is focus on the 81. So to cheat, I would take the 81 and divide it in the calculator by 2. See if that answer is on your perfect cube list. Then divide by 3. And if you notice, 3 times 27 gives me 81. 27 is a perfect cube. The cube root of 27 is 3. And that's because 3 times 3 times 3 gives me 27. And when we're talking about a cube root, it's kind of like a 3-for-1 deal. So 3 of the same number under the cube root sign means 1 out front. Then if we look at the letters, the x to the 4th, I'm going to go down 1, so x to the 3rd times x. Now the cube root of x to the 3rd is just x. So my answer for this one would be 3x. The cube root underneath, I still have a 3, and I still have an x. You have to put the little 3 in the check mark because that tells us that it's a cubed root. If we look at the second example, I've got 128. So you can look at your list, and you want to find 2 numbers that multiply and give me 128. One of them should be a perfect cube. For this one, I'm hoping that you picked 64 times 2. The cube root of 64 is 4. The cube root of 2 does not exist. If I look at my variable, I have an x to the 5th. I need it to be a multiple of 3. So I'm going to knock that down to x to the 3rd and then x squared, because these 2 give me the 5 up here. The cube root of x to the 3rd is x. There is no cube root for x squared, so this answer becomes 4x. The cube root, I still have a 2 and an x squared underneath. If I look at the next example, first thing I'm going to do is write down that, put a 1 here so I don't mess up. That's -1 out front. So I'm going to rewrite that as -1 and then a cube root and then 250. So I need to think of 2 numbers that multiply to 250. One of them has to be a perfect cube. I'm thinking we should go with 125 times 2. My x to the 7th, 7 is not divisible by 3, but 6 is. So I'm going to rewrite that as x to the 6th times x. Now if I want to simplify, the cube root of 125 is 5. I cannot do anything with the 2. X to the 6th becomes x squared because there's 2 groups of 3 in 6. And I cannot do anything with that x. I'm going to multiply everything out in front. So negative 1 times 5 times x squared is negative 5x squared. Underneath the cube root, I still have a 2 and an x. So that is my answer. Now, if we look at the next one, I know it's not a cube root, but I want to show you the concept and where everything comes from. This is a fourth root. So if you can't figure out your perfect fourth roots, I'm going to show you a cheat. If I rewrite a 4 and I break down my 81, factors of 81 are 9 times 9. A fourth root means I need 4 of the same number underneath that symbol. I only have 2 9s, so I'm going to break them down again. 9 becomes 3 times 3. This 9 becomes 3 times 3. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can take all 4 of them out and put 1 out front. If I look at the x to the 5th, that really means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. I'm looking for groups of 4. So if I take these 4, I can take 1 out and 1 is left behind. So if I simplify a fourth root, it becomes 3x, the fourth root of x. Again, I have another fourth root example to show you just so that you understand the concept. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write 4 and then a symbol. If I look at the number 48, I am thinking 4 times 12. My x to the 6th, I'm going to rewrite as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. If I look at what I have here, I do have 4 x's, so I can cross them out and bring 1 out front. If I look at my numbers, however, I do not have any 4 numbers that are the same, so I'm going to rewrite my x, my fourth root. The 4 I'm going to leave as 4. The 12 I'm going to break down to 3 times 4. I still have 2 x's, so I'm going to write that as x squared. Again, I still don't have 2 numbers that are the same, or 4 in this case, so I'm going to rewrite this as x, the fourth root. I'm going to break down this 4 to 2 times 2. I'm going to rewrite this 3. I'm going to break down this 4 to 2 times 2, and I'm going to rewrite this x squared. Now, if I look at my numbers, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 2's, so I can cross them all out and bring 1 out front. So this reduces to 2x, the fourth root. I still have a 3 and an x squared underneath. Now, this one is kind of a gift. This says the 5th root of 1. That means what times itself 5 times gives you 1? And the answer there is just 1. Now, going back to our cube roots, which is what the topic of this lesson is, I just wanted to show you some higher roots just so that you understand the concept. If I look at the numbers, I've got the cube root of 375. So 375, I'm thinking 125 times 3. The x to the 3rd, at the very beginning, I can technically cross that out and put 1 out front. And the y to the 4th, I'm going to rewrite as y to the 3rd times y. Now, if I take my perfect cubes out, the cube root of 125 is 5. The cube root of y to the 3rd is y. So in front, I have a 5, an x, and a y. Under the cube root sign, I have a 3 and a y. If you have any questions, please email me or ask me next time I see you.